Thanks for watching Thursday Debate here on Nile TV International. I'm Tagreed Hussein, and tonight we'll be talking about a very interesting topic, talking Egyptian women towards full inclusivity and also gender equality. And as we all know that the Egyptian women have always been the trumping card. For many years, women have played a key role in all sectors on all levels. And we'll be discussing this very important topic and also concerning what Egypt has achieved in the field of empowerment and gender with our dear distinctive guest, Mrs. Simone Salem, Gender Advisor at the UN AIDS Program. And I thank her so much. She's always adding value to the show. Simone, thank you for coming.
Thank you, Tagreed. It's always a pleasure to be with you.
The pleasure is mine, my dear, but before delving into our topic for tonight, let us congratulate Simone, the United Arab Emirates, for its scientific space achievement. It is actually an achievement that they have been looking for some time. And President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi had congratulated the United Arab Emirates on its unprecedented achievement in space sciences and its spacecraft that swung into orbit around Mars. On his official social media page, the President said that I proudly watched the arrival of the Hope probe to Mars, which is an unprecedented step in the field of scientific research and actually heralds a scientific renaissance in the Arab region. Greetings to the sisterly United Arab Emirates, the leadership and the people, and all those geniuses who planned and designed this experiment in an attempt to create a new reality despite all the extreme challenges at the present time. The President said that the experience will not be the ultimate in exploring new horizons in our big world, as the Arab mind is ambitious and knows the impossible. And I'm always honored to have with us one of our icons in the field, and one of those Arab minds, ambitious and knowing the impossible as well. I have with me the king, Professor Dr. Farouk El Baz, our iconic space scientist. Dr. El Baz, thank you so much for joining Nile TV International exclusively.
Thank you.
Well, how do you read this sense of achievement for the Emirates and the space sciences and also in the spacecraft that swept into orbit around Mars? How will this make a difference, in your opinion?
Of course, it is a wonderful thing because I didn't just read about it. I was very heavily involved as a member of the Advisory Council of the UAE Space Agency.
Yes.
And I knew the people that worked on this, and which is wonderful to know that they were nearly half of them were women from the UAE, and they did their work very well indeed. And they were involved in it as if it is their own thing to do, as if it is their own personal thing to do, and they did it very well from A to Z, starting with the leaders of the country and the directors of the programs and all the engineers down there, men and women. They did a fantastic job. So I'm very delighted that here is an Arab country that presented to the world our abilities as Arabs, and we're going to give that the material that will come out of it, meaning the scientific results, we're going to give it to anybody in the world to study and analyze for the knowledge for mankind.
Yes. Professor Baz, it has been a long journey, actually, and the arrival of the Hope probe to Mars is considered to be unprecedented in the field of scientific research. It heralds a scientific renaissance in the whole Arab region. Well, if we're going to highlight how can other Arab countries follow suit, and in what way will the arrival of the Hope probe to Mars bring more information and make a real difference?
Of course it will make a real difference because it is directed towards the upper atmosphere of Mars only. It's not going to take pictures of the surface. It's not going to do anything else except study the upper atmosphere. So it is dedicated to give us information on the upper atmosphere of Mars so that we will figure out what actually happened for the planet to lose much of its oxygen, because Mars has been losing its oxygen from the time it was formed, and we don't know why and how. And that happens in the upper layers of the atmosphere. And also the effect of the upper atmospheric motion to the sandstorms and dust storms of Mars, because there are plenty of dust storms and sandstorms of Mars. Actually, the largest sand dune field in the universe, as far as we know, is in the northern polar region of Mars. So there are sand dunes of Mars, very much like the sand dunes in our desert. So whatever we learn about Mars can tell us a little about our deserts and vice versa. So it is really a wonderful thing to know that we are going to be getting more information on Mars that the whole scientific community worldwide would use.
Yes. What was the latest scientific research on Mars, Professor? And will Hope probe's arrival to Mars is considered to be definitely a different attempt. This experiment, what could be the extreme challenges that the team met until this step has happened on solid grounds?
Of course, the launch, then the orbit, then going into a straight line to Mars, which took us like 7 months to go in the trip, and then the most important item, which happened a couple of days ago, was to insert it into the orbit of Mars. That was the most dangerous thing, because if you are off with just a few degrees, it could fly beyond Mars. If you are off by other degrees in the other direction, it would crash into Mars. So it was really the fact that it was sent to be orbiting the planet in exactly the same way we wanted to do was the most significant event, which happened a couple of days ago.
Yes. Since we're talking with the king, let us explore new horizons in our big world concerning Mars, and concerning also providing more clues vis-a-vis the Hope probe to Mars. What were the other experiences, Professor, that you think were worth of respect and had provided more clues about Mars?
Well, the fact that we see the surface of Mars and we see the evidence of rain, evidence of oceans, evidence of valleys, and then they would all disappear, the water disappeared. So we want to know what made that disappearance of water, and it exists only merely underground as in the shape of snow. That something like this could happen on Earth? That's a big question mark. What exactly happens on Mars to do that? So there are major questions that we have on Mars, and particularly whether there was life on Mars before, whether there was such a... So there is quite a bit of questions, scientific questions that we still have, and we certainly would like to know more about them, and we would like to compare some of the features of Mars to the features on the Earth. For instance, do you know that there is a valley on Mars that is called Al-Qahira Valley?
Yes,
we named one of the wadis or valleys of Mars after Cairo, because Cairo was actually, the name Cairo as a city was named after Mars, the planet. Most people don't know that.
Amazing.
And it is a very essential thing for us, that our main city in Egypt, Cairo, is named this way after the planet Mars.
Yes, amazing info as always, and a message, a congratulatory message on behalf of the King on that occasion. His Excellency President Sisi congratulated the Emirates on this unprecedented achievement in space sciences and the spacecraft that swept into orbit around Mars, and the President said that, "I proudly watched the arrival of the Hope probe to Mars, which is an unprecedented step in the field of scientific research." The President called it an unprecedented step in the field of scientific research. How about your feelings as you watched it, Professor, the arrival of Hope probe to Mars?
I was delighted. I was delighted. I felt very proud as an Arab, As a scientist, I was delighted. As an Arab, felt very proud. So there is no question about the fact that the United Arab Emirates has given all Arabs something to be happy about, something to be proud of, and something to look after, to look forward to, and something to say, well, the UAE did that, maybe we can also do this. So this is a whole new step in the history of the Arab world. The United Arab Emirates has taken the lead, has taken the stand, and it says to us, all Arabs everywhere, that we can do it. We can be as good as anybody else. See, here we can do it, and we did it this way. So this is a wonderful thing for raising the spirit of all Arabs, men and women, everywhere in the world, wherever Arabs might be. You look up in the sky, look up at Mars and say, my God, we can do it. We can join the developed world and do as much as well as they did, if not a little better.
Definitely we will. I thank you so much, King, for joining us. Professor Dr. Farouk El Baz, our iconic space scientist, was speaking to us from DC. I thank you very much, Professor, for the valuable input, and stay tuned. We have more to come talking about the Egyptian women towards full inclusivity and gender equality. Let's watch the Arab spacecraft entering orbit around Mars. This report will be back.
A spacecraft from the United Arab Emirates swung into orbit around Mars on Tuesday in a triumph for the Arab world's first interplanetary mission. Ground controllers at the UAE Space Center in Dubai rose to their feet and broke into applause when word came that the craft, called Amal, Arabic for hope, had reached the end of its 7-month, 300 million mile journey and had begun circling the red planet, where it will gather detailed data on Mars's atmosphere. The orbiter fired its main engines for 27 minutes in an intricate, high-stakes maneuver that slowed the craft enough for it to be captured by Mars's gravity. It took a nail-biting 11 minutes for the signal confirming success to reach Earth. Tensions were high over the years. Mars has been the graveyard for a multitude of missions from various countries. Amal's arrival puts the UAE in a league of just 5 space agencies in history that have pulled off a functioning Mars mission. As the country's first venture beyond Earth's orbit, the flight is a point of intense pride for the oil-rich nation as it seeks a future in space. 2 more unmanned spacecraft from the US and China are following close behind. Set to arrive at Mars over the next several days, all 3 missions were launched in July to take advantage of the close alignment of Earth and Mars. In developing Amal, the UAE engineers and scientists worked with researchers at the University of Colorado, the University of California, at Berkeley and Arizona State University. Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi, Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed, was on hand at mission control and congratulated the leadership and people of the UAE, describing the issue as an indescribable joy. Thomas Zurbuchin, NASA's science mission chief, tweeted congratulations saying, "Your bold endeavor to explore the red planet will inspire many others to reach for the stars. We hope to join you at Mars soon with perseverance." If all goes as planned, Amal over the next 2 months will settle into an exceptionally high elliptical orbit of 22,000 kilometers by 44,000 kilometers, from which it will survey the mostly carbon dioxide atmosphere around the entire planet at all times of day and in all seasons. It joins 6 spacecrafts already operating around Mars, 3 from the US, 2 European, and 1 that's Indian. The success delivers a tremendous boost to the UAE's space ambitions. For months, Amal's journey had been tracked by the UAE's state-run media with rapturous enthusiasm. This year is the 50th anniversary of the country's founding, casting even more attention on Amal.